I talk a lot about being creative, and sometimes the well goes dry. So you might want to try this out with your friend or spouse. You could even try it out on your own, though it might not be as fun, but maybe it will be just as effective. Anyway, so Marcy and I, you know, we'd be sitting at a booth in a restaurant and we scan the place to see if there's anybody in here that we don't know. And if there is, and they're older, maybe retired, but not always. And just by our powers of observation, we try to determine or discern what that person did for a living, or maybe does for a living. And then of course somebody has to, work up the nerve to go and cold call this person because the other one doesn't. Um, and right then and there, we just, we go up. That for some reason, that person's always me. And we work up the courage, go and say, break the ice by going, hey, excuse me, hey, my wife. I wonder if you could help me solve a little problem between my wife and I. And usually that intrigues them. Like, I don't know. And he says, wow, it's kind of a bet we have. We try to figure out what you did for a living, and that intrigues them because they want to think, I wonder if they could guess about me. And so usually, actually, Marcy, I think she cheats. I think she prays and she kind of gets it. Sometimes she nails them right down. But, and just parenthetically, I would say that it's kind of like being treasure hunters. Like we go in and we try to find a, beep, 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 try to find a nugget of gold or something in this that the Lord can light upon. And then, this is, we've had some pretty interesting conversations this way. So maybe, I say, hey, I thought you looked like you were in construction or forestry or something. And then my wife says, no, she thinks you're an educator. Or, one time she actually nailed this guy as he worked in microbiology research in Victoria in a lab. And she thought he was worked in a laboratory of some sort. That was kind of cool. And he was a little bit, whoa. And that was fun because I cracked open the conversation when his wife went to the washroom. And so when she came back and now her husband's talking to this couple that they look like they're good friends, we've known for a long time. And I know we don't know anybody, but it was just kind of a neat conversation. But sometimes those conversations actually turn into kingdom moments. One time we were sitting in Timmy's, and there was a long lineup at the door, and we both noticed this young guy who looked like maybe he was going through something, so our hearts were drawn to him maybe, but we start, unbeknownst to him, he enters into our game and we start guessing about it. Now I thought he was in construction, which was one of my first guesses, and she thought something else, maybe that he was a coach or a trainer of some sort, maybe something like that. But then she said, I also think he's a really good guy, but that he has a really soft heart and maybe even going through something, a broken heart. And anyway, so I did my part. And there's a break in the line. I go up and I walk past him. I'm going to the washroom. And I stop and I turn around and say, hey, excuse me. My wife and I, we just kind of went through the paces, right? My wife and I playing this game, trying to guess what maybe you did or do for a living. And she guessed, that you were kind of a trainer of some sort, educator, and I guessed construction. And he's like, He goes, well, I am in construction. I was like, yes, I'm right. But he said, I'm also a trainer. I train young carpenters. Wow. So then I felt sort of like the freedom to talk about this other part. I said, my wife also said she felt that you were really a decent man, but that your heart is broken, or there's something there. You say you have a really soft heart and sensitive heart. Well, the guy began to tear up, and then he says to me, well, my wife and I just split up, and pretty broken, and he was coming through 100 Mile to go up north to pick up his son. It's like, whoa. All of a sudden, we're in a kingdom moment. I ended up praying for that guy. And I don't know how the story goes. Like I don't know, the story didn't end there, but maybe one day we'll hear a testimony about this guy who says, I remember there's one time in a little town called 100 Mile that this couple ended up praying for me, and showed me the love of God. Came out of nowhere, this dude. Once more, all I'm saying is that I want to encourage you to be on the lookout, to get in on what God's doing, to just be creative. You come alive when you do. It reminds you of your ultimate purpose as a human being, but more so as a Christian. You are here to share with others about your faith. You're here to point others to, or to lead others to Him. That's what this is all about.